that is aimed at securing the supply of critical minerals and rare earths. The agreement also focuses on mining and processing while building diversified and fair markets for these materials through coordinated investment and economic policy tools. During bilateral talks itself, Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi praised US President Trump's commitment to global peace and stability, also stressing that she values Japan's alliance with the US. Listen in to what she stated.
実は安倍総理からはよくトランプ大統領のダイナミックな外交について話を聞いていました。タイとカンボジアの停戦に成功し、トランプ大統領はまずアジアの平和に貢献をされました。それから先般の中東における合意の実現もですね、これはかつてない歴史的偉業です。これだけの短期間に世界はより平和になりました。で、この世界の平和と安定のトランプ大統領の揺るぎないコミットを高く評価します。私自身も強い感銘を受けました。
The Japanese Prime Minister has also expressed her readiness to work closely with Washington to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific. Following her remarks, US President Trump welcomed Japan's increased military capacity and confirmed that Tokyo has placed large orders for US defense equipment. Listen in.
Just signing a new deal, and it's a very fair deal, and we look forward to welcoming Japan into the United States and a continuation. And it's something that everybody is very, very excited about. On behalf of our country, I want to just let you know, anytime you have any question, any doubt, anything you want, any favors you need, anything I can do to help Japan, we will be there. We are an ally at the strongest level.
Meanwhile, Takaichi is expected to present a package of US investments which is worth about $550 billion and covers shipbuilding and increased purchases of soybeans, gas and vehicles from the United States. The agreement now comes amid heightened tensions with Beijing after China tightened export controls on rare earth minerals earlier this month itself. Remember, in a countermeasure, Washington has threatened to impose up to 100% tariffs on Chinese goods. In the meantime, we're also learning that Trump and Takaichi will also visit the US naval base in Yokosuka near Tokyo later in the day. This base is home to the aircraft carrier USS George Washington, which is a key symbol of US military presence in the region. Moreover, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has reportedly arrived in Tokyo ahead of his bilateral meeting with Japanese Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi. The two are expected to discuss regional security, defense cooperation, and joint military exercises aimed at strengthening strategic ties. With us on the broadcast is Dr. Asta Chadda from Ritsumeikan University, joining us from Kyoto. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Interesting developments coming in the aftermath of a lot of political rumbles within Japan itself. Now, this meeting between Sanae Takaichi and Donald Trump. I'd first like to discuss the economic angle of what's transpired. We do know that trade tensions between the United States and China have been simmering for quite a while. They're seeming to escalate. At the same time, the US continuing its outreach to Japan. Japan has vowed $550 billion worth of investments inside the United States of America. Where do you see this particular equation heading to next? And how do you think Japan will sort of balance its alliance with the United States of America and ties with China?
Thank you, Pia, for having me. Well, I mean, this was quite anticipated. In fact, if you look at President Trump's whole itinerary for his Japan visit, it seems like it has been well thought out in terms of how the new Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi wishes to project Japan, and her wish is to project it as Japan trying to build a new golden era of this partnership, because that's what she called it. And she called the US-Japan alliance as the greatest alliance in the world. So those were signals even ahead of President Trump's visit that she would be willing to cooperate further to elevate this alliance to newer heights. Now, in terms of the Japanese investment, well, again, this investment should be seen both, as Japanese way of trying to commit to the alliance as part of a larger trade agreement, but also the fact that Japan is seeking some more concessions. In fact, Sanae Takaichi earlier hinted at potentially trying to ask for further relief. This is after Japan had secured a kind of around 15% tariff on exports, which was lower than what was initially threatened in exchange for large-scale investment. So this is that $550 billion large-scale investment that Japan is pledging. The other aspect of this big investment is the fact that both the leaders have agreed to sign a framework to secure supply chains for critical minerals and rare earths in a way to de-risk, supply chains for these products with regards to China. And then lastly, there have been indications for a while before President Trump arrived that the current Japanese government would consider some more symbolic purchases of the American goods. And this is to address America's or Trump administration's long-standing concerns regarding the trade deficit with Japan. So we are looking at probably buying some pickup trucks or, some products that America makes.
Indeed, and speaking of the defensive relations, this of course comes with larger concerns regarding the Indo-Pacific and the Chinese presence in the Indo-Pacific at large, which is now burgeoning. We have seen that the recent administration in the United States has been focused on the war in the Middle East. It's been focused on the war in Europe between Russia and Ukraine as well. And some experts argue that the Quad has taken a back foot. How do you think now these defense purchases could then help as far as ensuring the United States' ambitions to counter China, Japan's ambitions to counter China and ensure its own security are then taken forward?
Yeah, in terms of security and defense, we knew that when Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi was elected, we knew that she would accelerate military spending in Japan, and that has been in some ways a call by Trump administration as well for Japan to take on more burden of this alliance. So and as well as show Japanese commitment to its role in security, which the US alone does not want to carry. So Prime Minister Takaichi has already pledged that she would raise Japanese defense expenditure to 2% of GDP by next spring. We're also looking at, in their bilateral meeting, definitely two discussions. One, as you mentioned, how to contain any Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific. This is not necessarily to counter China on all fronts, but definitely to find newer avenues to work together. And it is very also likely that probably the Taiwan discussion might come up in the context of how Japan sees Taiwan as very, very close to its territory. As far as Quad is concerned, Quad has 4 members. Apart from Japan and the US, we also need India and Australia on the same page with regards to Trump administration and its foreign policy towards the other 3 partners. So we'll see where the Quad goes from there. But definitely, given that Japan is very committed to this relationship, of course it should be, because this is one of the most important alliances for Japanese security. I see this meeting as very positive, at least for President Trump and his administration.
All right, Dr. Asta Chadha, with that, I would like to thank you for taking out time and sharing your analysis with us on NewsX World. With that, viewers, we're shifting focus towards more news coming in. We're now learning that Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Vadfull has called for fair and reliable trade with China on critical minerals as tensions between Beijing and the European Union rise over export controls. Now, speaking in Brussels, he stated that the EU must diversify suppliers of rare earth minerals and semiconductors, but has stressed that maintaining stable commercial ties with China remains essential. Listen in.
Europa muss erkennen, dass es weiter sich diversifizieren muss, dass es eine Politik der Risikominimierung, also des De-Risking, weiter konsequent verfolgen muss. Und trotzdem parallel setzen wir darauf, dass ein fairer Handel mit China in allen Bereichen, auch in Bereichen der seltenen Erden und auch der Chips, weiter möglich ist. Wir sind zu diesem fairen Austausch und zu diesem fairen Handel weiter bereit und glauben, dass wir auch in Peking wieder Partner finden.
Now, these remarks have come after Berlin's decision to postpone a planned diplomatic visit to China after Beijing was unable to confirm meetings beyond a single appointment with the Chinese foreign minister. Meanwhile, Vadfull has insisted that the trip would be rescheduled as soon as possible, adding that Germany remains ready for dialogue with one of its most important trading partners. China, meanwhile, this month imposed new restrictions on rare earth exports, which are, of course, key inputs for electric vehicles, consumer electronics, and defense manufacturing equipment. Meanwhile, the German foreign minister has further emphasized that Europe must reduce its strategic vulnerability while preserving balanced trade. Shifting focus to developments that we're tracking from Turkey.